Hi and welcome back to a brand new tutorial. Here I'll be looking at a bootleg remix that I did, and I'm going to reverse engineer and show you how I made the track rather than go through the process of actually making it. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that notification bell, and so let's jump straight in. The difference between a bootleg and a remix and a official remix is bootleg is usually an illegal remix of something. Either you've got a sample that you're using, or you just downloaded an a cappella and it's not yours to use, so you kind of doing it illegally, so that's why it's called a bootleg. Check out what bootleg actually means. It's quite an interesting story about the prohibition in the United States and smuggling and stuff. And so yeah, when you've got an official remix, the record company sends you the individual tracks to the song, and you remix the track and reproduce it yourself, and then it gets officially released by the record company. So it's like a remix package with the release. Or it can be an unofficial remix where you get the parts off the internet somewhere and you just do your own remix and then you post it up on your SoundCloud, but you can get striked and you can get that taken down on YouTube and other platforms, so you need to be careful of that. Whereas a bootleg is usually kind of just a sample or something like that people take. But I've recreated this disco loop here. So as you can hear, I've made the track and I based it on my friend's Kid Massive's Funkmaster track that he did not so long ago. And what I did is I used this as a map. This is a track I mixed and mastered for him, which is really cool. So I just used his track as a map to sort out what kind of structure I wanted. I usually do that, and just to give me an idea of how to arrange this quickly without having to think about it too much. Then once you've done that a few times, you kind of learn how things work and you can get into doing it yourself. So it's quite useful for doing genres that you're not used to doing, and you can always learn a lot from different styles as well, different genres, so that's always helpful. So let's have a look at the drums first. So got a kick here, which I've got a channel EQ on. There's a hi-hat in it because it's coming from a loop that I split up, and what I did is I separated the loops and then I EQ'd, but I still like that in it. I can cut that a bit if I want, but it's okay, it doesn't get in the way when you listen to it all together. As you can see, it's interacting with this here. So it kind of fits in. As you can see, I've added some compression to this as well. Just biting with a very medium attack and a fast release. Brings it up nicely. Done that on all the drums here, the snare drum as well. And here I've done some MIDI drum bits with a Nexus here. So as you can hear here, I've got put this in solo, and you can see I've got the Nexus here, and I've used a Tom disco kit. So as you can hear here, give us that kind of disco feel. So I did that. Then this track I got a studio kit, a basic Logic stock drum kit, and I've done a, as you see here, the MIDI. and I gave it a bit of sausage fattener to give it a bit more bite to it, if you can hear it with or without. This is a combi plugin. Here is a limiter section here where it's marked gain. This fatness just kind of pushes the threshold up, and then the color is like a brightness kind of exciter knob, and it really is useful. It gives it a fat sound, I must admit. And of course I got this snare with a compressor on. I cut the bass end out, otherwise it's going to get in the way of the kick, because I cut it out of the sample. Remember, I split a loop up that I got from Kid Massive's one of his library sounds. I just got a loop that I liked the sound of and then split it up and changed some parts out for other parts and added some percussion. As you can see here, got both percussion playing simultaneously, kind of fit in together nicely. This one I put just a compressor and straightforward EQ on it, and here I put the sausage fattener to brighten up a bit because it was a bit dull, this one, so you can hear this on its own. So that's to make it stand out, and I EQ'd it pretty dramatically as well because it was kind of a bit overwhelming. So just to get it cutting through. Then the disco loop bounce, as you've seen in the other tutorial when I made this up, basically recreated a sample, and I did a tutorial on that. So here you can hear what I'm doing with this, and I use the remix effects here. Did a tutorial on this, how these work. Got the repeater on this side, the stutter here, and the filter here. Using a phaser as well, you can hear this, and the tremolo as well to give it that pumping effect. I did a tutorial on how to do this. I called it sidechain pump because basically it imitates what you would get from feeding a kick to the compressor, that would give it that kind of pump effect that you'd use by using the sidechain input on the compressor to get this effect, which is not really what you'd use maybe sidechains originally for, but sidechaining here is to get that pump effect. So I use a tremolo to do that, and that's pretty practical because then you can use that on each track, and that works out well for me anyway. So, and then sausage fattener to give it a bit more fatness, basically, color to it, which brightens it up. And we've got the gain here, which is the limiter that controls the sound, the level. Okay, so next up is the piano, the Wurlitzer, where I've used a standard Logic Wurlitzer Classic from the electric piano, the vintage electric piano plugin, and so you can see I've played it here, I've EQ'd it, I've got a chain on, then I got some reverb, the tremolo pumping effects, and the sausage fattener to give us a nice fat piano sound. Then next up I've got a sample that I cut and tuned. So here you can see I tuned it up to +4 to get it in tune, with the actual session itself. Got a tape delay on it, tremolo as well, and a sausage fattener. So if you take this out, you can hear the difference. That's it without. Then the bass, I've got the Ample Bass plugin I'm using, which is a basic finger bass. There's not many presets that come with it because it's a freebie, but you can get a good finger bass sound out of it. So I used this here, and I EQ'd that, cut most of the bass under 50. Got a sausage fattener on it just to give it a bit of fatness and control here. Got some disco effects in there, EQ'd, and some reverb on that. So that's pretty cool, disco effects that I've got down from different sample packs. I think some splice stuff, some stuff I got in my library, basically, that I've collected over the years. So they sound cool. And this is an Apple Loop vocal sound that called Sonia. Cut a bit of the bass out of it because a bit of microphone noise there. And what I did is I tuned it. There's a bit of a sound there, you can hear it, but what I do is I'll do a little crossfade there later. Anyway, so yeah, so what I did is I tuned this part here +2, as you can see it's written here +2, and this bit is +6, and they give that just a little snippet to give it that effect that I needed there, which you can hear similar to what we got in the original here. Then what I did is I went in and found some more vocal parts, just some stuff that I'd added here. It's like a deep vocal effect. It's quite cool. And then I got some, and then I got this vocal here as well. That they come back in. I think I got this with less reverb here. Yet to name that track, I will do that after. So there you have all the vocal parts and the music parts, and then let's get on to how I sort of like process and mix this very quickly. Then of course on the vocals I used similar thing. I cut the bass out of the vocals, used a chrome verb, a tape delay, and I used a sausage fattener as well as an EQ and a brightener on the vocals to get them where I like them sitting. And then the whole thing, so all my elements here are going into buses. So all these elements here, these tracks, so you can see from left to right, are going into these buses here. So it's written bus, bass drum, bass, keys, vocals and effects. Okay, so you have all the parts going in here. So the kick's on its own. The kick is on its own, and I'll just have this going around here. Hold up, there. So the kick's on its own. I always have the kick on its own. I've just got a limiter on it to control the actual, just to control the actual level. I've just got the reduction just biting a little bit. So what I've done is I blocked this down at -10. So my kick is sitting at -10. That's where I have it. Right, and then the drums, I have them anywhere between -10. Sometimes I'm right here, just biting again as well. And I'll bring that down a little bit. So the kick, and that is giving me about, we're just taking the mastering off so I can show you this. So here we have this sitting at about -6, -7, yeah. And then the bass here, the limiter, similar thing, -10. Then I adjust this down to -4 here, so it gives it -14 at my output. And I control that as well, just very slightly here with the reduction. And then with the keys, more or less the same with the keys. They're a bit more squashed, they're quite loud there. I might bring that down a little bit. Okay, so that's the level of my my keys. And the vocals, if I can get a vocal part as well, I usually have that at about -12. So the limiter will be at -10, and then the actual bus itself, the fader here, at -2 and a bit, depends. So then the effects I have very low. So here you can see they are at -10, but also here -10. So really low. They're not very loud at all, they're just very discreet. And the whole thing I have going into my master here, and then I have on my master I have a comp, the SSL comp, the standard plugin from Logic, the standard compressor. I use the SSL model. Then next up I have the console EQ to give me just a little bit of colour to it. Here, bit of top, bit of bottom, around 60, and I have this at about 1.2 for mid, but I leave that at 0, and then top I just add a couple of dB there. Then I've got another EQ here for cutting out frequencies that are kind of getting in the way. What I do is I sweep through the frequencies, I push this right up, and I sweep through and I find frequencies that are kind of ringing out, and I cut them. Just gives it a bit of kind of subtlety to it. It's quite nice. Makes it a subtle kind of a adjustment. And then stereo effects to it. So I widen it out to 142, but I don't, not the bass of course. I've got safe bass at 60. You can have that higher if you want. Just push this stuff out, and then the limiter. I use this one, the limiter, and I have the output at. This is kind of like the I say a threshold sort of output thing, and the ceiling I have at -9. So this is to keep it safe. At 6.1, that's quite high. Just so it's biting a little bit. You'll see in my mastering tutorial where I explain the one for mastering for iTunes, how this all works. I suggest going back and have a look at that if you don't quite follow that bit. And then the multimeter, just to check, see if my frequencies are kind of sitting nice. Quite high the bass. It sounds okay against the reference track. She's hitting harder, but I'm not really that concerned. I quite like it. You know, the RMS is okay. Get it a bit louder, I suppose. I didn't use a multi-limiter on it either, but I think it's okay like that. So there you have the way to do a bootleg remix. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, hit those comments, and I will be back soon. Ciao.